Title: The Amazing Squirrel Boy. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between tall trees and winding rivers, there was a little boy named Max. Max wasn't like the other kids at school. He was smaller, a little shy, and always had his head in the clouds. But there was one thing that made Max unique: his best friend, a squirrel named Nutty. Max found Nutty one stormy afternoon when he was walking home from school. The tiny creature was shivering under a bush, looking up at Max with big, wide eyes. Max's heart melted, and he scooped Nutty into his arms, promising to take care of him. From that day on, Max and Nutty were inseparable. Nutty would sit on Max's shoulder, chattering away, while Max went about his day. They played together, ate snacks together, and even napped under the big oak tree in Max's backyard. But one quiet evening, something strange happened. Max and Nutty were playing in the yard when a gust of wind blew through the trees, sending a swirl of leaves into the air. Max felt a strange tingle run through his fingertips, and Nutty, perched on his shoulder, seemed to glow for just a moment. "Did you feel that?" Max asked, staring at Nutty in surprise. Nutty, twitching his little tail, suddenly jumped off Max's shoulder and scurried up a nearby tree, faster than he'd ever moved before. Max followed, heart racing, as Nutty darted across branches with the speed of a blur. "Whoa, Nutty, slow down!" Max called. But Nutty wasn't listening. He seemed more energized than ever, leaping and bounding with an agility that Max could hardly believe. And then, with one swift motion, Nutty launched himself into the air, gliding from one tree to another like a miniature superhero. Max gasped. "Did you just... No way!" Before he could even process what had happened, Max felt the tingle again. His fingers crackled with energy, and suddenly he was lifted off the ground. His feet hovered for a moment, and then, without thinking, Max took off running. His legs moved with the speed of lightning, and his jumps were higher than ever before. He could do it. He could run fast, just like Nutty. Max and Nutty zipped through the trees, racing around like they were on the most exciting adventure ever. But soon something else caught their attention. There was a shadow moving in the distance. It was dark and menacing, creeping towards the town. "That looks bad," Max said, looking at Nutty. "We need to stop it." Nutty gave a squeak, as if to say, "Let's do this," and scurried into a nearby bush. Max stood tall and clutched his hands together. With one last burst of energy, he ran faster than he ever had before, leaping into the air with Nutty beside him. They arrived at the edge of town just in time to see a group of villains, known for causing trouble, trying to steal the town's power supply. Without thinking, Max and Nutty acted together. Nutty jumped onto one of the villains' heads, distracting him long enough for Max to leap high into the air and knock the power box from the villain AS hands. The villains, surprised and confused, tried to chase after Max and Nutty, but they were too fast. Max dodged and leapt, using his newfound abilities to outsmart them at every turn. Nutty darted through the trees, causing the villains to stumble over roots and trip on branches. It was a perfect team-up. When the villains finally realized they were no match for Max and Nutty, they ran off, vowing to never return. Max and Nutty stood victorious, breathing heavily but grinning from ear to ear. "You were amazing, Nutty," Max said, giving his squirrel friend a high five. Well, a high paw. "We make a great team." From that day on, Max and Nutty became the town's secret heroes. No one knew who saved them that night, but whenever trouble arose, they knew that they had the fastest, most fearless team in the world watching over them. Max and his amazing squirrel, Nutty. And Max? Well, he wasn't just a little boy anymore. He was a superhero. And with Nutty by his side, nothing could stop them. The end.